Welcome back to the SAOR Method. Today's guest is someone who has quietly built one of the most respected coaching communities in Cork through authenticity, education, and a genuine passion for helping women feel strong. Orla Clancy is the founder of OCE Strength and Fitness, a coach specializing in women's health, pregnancy, and postpartum training, and a former international kickboxer who represented Ireland around the world before stepping into motherhood and business ownership. But Orla's story goes far beyond fitness, from navigating life as a mother of two to building a business centered around evidence-based coaching to recently moving OCE Strength and Fitness into a brand new facility in Ballincollig. Her journey is one of resilience, reinvention, and purpose. In this episode, we talk about why she entered the health and fitness industry, the realities of being a woman in business in 2026, balancing motherhood with entrepreneurship, and what it truly takes to build a business while helping others at the same time. Please welcome Orla Clancy. Orla, welcome, and thank you for joining me today. I am delighted to have you on. And before we dive into your incredible story through motherhood and business and previous sporting achievements, a question I like to ask all of our guests is, why the fitness industry and what got you into it?
My story, I suppose, it goes back to when I was 17 in college, in Leaving Cert. Sorry, going from Leaving Cert into college, I had applied. I wanted to go to what was then called the RTC. It was then changed to CIT, and it now operates as NTU. And the reason I wanted to go there, it was close to home. I could cycle to college, and it was, it had a great reputation. But I wanted to do rec leg in college, and for whatever reason of the points that year, I didn't have the points, or I didn't get a placement, and I was put into a business studies, tourism, marketing course instead. The same fundamental subjects were there, marketing and all those business subjects and stuff, but and I was very, very shy. I was very shy when I was 17. I was just turned 17 when I started college. And I got a place on the course a week into my business studies tourism course. And because I had made friends, I didn't do it. So I didn't do the Rec course, and I went on and I did marketing, and I went on and actually got into tech. And when I hit about 27, I always had this, piece in the back of my brain, what if? And I went and did a PT course, then a weekend course. It was like a 20-week course with the National Training Centre when I was 27, and I was the oldest person on the course and felt quite old. I thought, oh my God, I've missed my time. I did a bit of PT then. I used to teach a cardio kickboxing class in a place called Donnybrook Health Studios out in Douglas, or in Donnybrook. And when I got to 30, then I was still in tech, and I had a really, really good job in tech. I worked in EMC. And when I hit 30, I got onto the Irish national kickboxing team. So sorry if this story sounds winded, but it has a bit of a background. So I continued on the Irish kickboxing team, continued on in my tech job, and then I had my first child at 39, and I still had that in the back of my head. What if? And I went back and did a pre and postnatal course when I was pregnant with my second child, and the rest is history. So I suppose the interest in fitness was always there from a young age. I used to play basketball, and I loved fitness, and I love sport and all that. But I always felt like the opportunity or the timing was wrong to get into the business. And I think the story of me going through all the iterations and going into my tech job for over 20 years, it built me up to be, I suppose, a better maybe business person. I know what I want, I know what I don't want. It all kind of matters. So everything happens for a reason, I guess. And if I had gotten into the fitness industry when I was 17, 18, 19, I mightn't be the person I am today. So I'm very, very grateful for the opportunities that I've had up to now.
And what was stopping you from getting into industry from a younger age? Like, why stay rolling it out, rolling forward?
I guess when I was 17, it was all, you need to get a good job, you need to settle down, you need to get a career. And the fitness industry at the time was considered a low income, or maybe that was the, perception I had. kind of embarrassing, but look, I'm going to own it. When I was 17, I smoked. And it didn't really align, even though I was into fitness and wanted to be in fitness. I smoked. I no longer smoke and haven't done for a number of years. But I always kind of felt that I was out of place. I didn't feel like I was your typical fitness, looking buff, feeling buff, the way the fitness industry would have been years ago,
Stereotypes.
and
Yeah, for
stereotypes.
sure.
I wasn't that
Yeah.
typical person. And I was
Mm.
also quite shy, I guess, at the time, and probably didn't believe that I was good enough, to be honest.
And what changed then, apart from the what ifs? Given you had a very steady career, and I had a great talk with another one of our members, Vinny, who was also in tech for 6, 7, 8 years, and when he was 30, started his business as well. Um, and for him, it was just he was so unhappy in what he was doing, and he was like, "This isn't
Yeah.
life." He was living in Barcelona, had a great secure job, had a great lifestyle, but he was like, "I was just so unhappy waking up every day, going into my job." And for him, trail running became his escape, and eventually moved back to Ireland and started his own business. And for him, it was just pure, just really unhappy. So, what was it for you? Because it didn't seem like that.
I loved tech. I was working in EMC that then became Dell. I was there for 15 years. And before that, I was in a software development company, and I loved um, anything to do with automation, anything that you can, have something else do for you so that you can free up your time and do other stuff. I love all that, and I still love it. And don't even talk to me now about Lovable and Claude, because I'm down at dark hole and I'm absolutely adoring it. But uh, what changed? I suppose when I started kickboxing, it was never about the sport of kickboxing. Yes, it was. I wasn't necessarily the best kickboxer, but I fought with like my absolute heart and soul. And I did points contact, I did light contact, and I did full contact. And I really felt like kickboxing helped me develop my personality, um, my go getting kind of persona, I suppose, that I'm proud of right now. And
Yeah.
I built a bit of confidence in myself. I knew that if I tried my hand at my, I knew that if I tried hard in kickboxing, I knew that I would, get results. And I felt, and even I suppose with kickboxing, I started late. So I always felt like I was always chasing the dream, always trying to catch up, but that kind of suited me. And then I guess that gave me confidence to go, well, if I can make it in kickboxing, I can do this. And I prioritize my kickboxing. I used to call kickboxing my second career for years. That all my holidays, all my free time. Like when I met my now husband, like we never went on holidays because I was like, oh no, I've kickboxing trip. I've Europeans. I've got not masters. I've got Europeans. I've got worlds. I'm away at this time, and no, I don't drink at the weekends. What are you talking about? Of course I don't. And um, I found that while I loved it, I always had it in my head that once I retire from kickboxing, maybe I'll get back into the fitness industry, because I didn't have the time. I couldn't work earlies because I was working, and I couldn't work evenings because I was training. So I used to train 5 nights a week. And but I always wanted to do more. I wanted to get back. I loved teaching cardio kickboxing for years, or kickboxercise, or whatever the branding was at the time. Um, but I didn't have time to do any more than that then. So it was in my head that once I retire from kickboxing, I'll, maybe do a class or two, and start from there. And that's what I did. That's how I started my business. I used to do them on
And
Saturdays. I used to do classes on Saturdays, and I think a Wednesday night maybe.
to take us through some of that inner dialogue that was going on around that time, given that, being in the fitness industry it was always there. But take us through some of the things that you were saying to yourself, maybe. I know a lot of people probably listen to this are contemplating that right now. Is it the right time? Am I good enough? Take us through some of the things that you were saying to yourself, and ultimately what changed in the end for you to actually make that leap.
I started really, really, really slow. I started with, look, I'd be happy with doing 1 or 2 classes. Oh, look, I'd be happy with doing 3 classes. Oh my God, what if I do a few PTs as well? And, um, oh my God, am I actually doing this? And it was, I suppose the area that I was in was pre and postnatal fitness, because I had two boys, and I had I suppose, a fairly straightforward first pregnancy, but a very near-death experience when he was born. And then when my second son was born, it was flipped. I had a very straightforward delivery and was kind of introduced to the world of pelvic health, getting a pelvic health check postnatally, and I suppose I found when I went to the pelvic health physio, I wanted to, show women how to get back after having a baby, show them how to get back to fitness, how to get back to the sport. Like, oh my God, I'm doing it. If I can do it, they can do it. And when I went for my pelvic health, I just went for a pelvic health assessment that is recommended postnatally. I didn't go for any reason. I didn't have any symptoms. There was nothing that I was worried about. I just wanted to do my due diligence. I had done a course with Girls Gone Strong, and it was recommended on the Girls Gone Strong course that all women postnatally going back to exercise should have a pelvic health assessment. And in that pelvic health assessment, I was informed that I had a mild pelvic organ prolapse. Mild now, like going into the world of this, at the time, it was like, what the hell is that? And what's going on? And um, went down a rabbit hole online of, oh, if you're diagnosed with this, you can never run, you can never do this, you can never do that. And it was all this scaremongering stuff. And I'm the kind of person that, I suppose, tell me I can't do something and by God, I'll show you I can do it.
Watch me.
Tell me I can. Yeah, I literally am. And I suppose it's a narrative that I was never really aware of probably until this point, that what do you mean you can't? Like, progressive overload at its absolute minimum. Like, if I can't lift 10 kg now, progressive overload, I can lift 10 kg later, and I was very lucky at that time. So my youngest was just probably about 4 months old, and I found the right people and the right educators to bring me into the world where that narrative was less scary and less restrictive and more, yeah, of course you can. Let's show you how, and I got, I suppose I went through a ton of courses: Girls Gone Strong, Anthony Lowe, Physio Detective, Brianna Battles, Hayley Shevner, like uh, RX Physio, and was introduced to a world of really positive, encouraging, motivating educators that wanted to spread the word that you can do things that the internet tells you shouldn't. Don't squat when you're pregnant. Of course you can, So I spent years then kind of just being a total nerd, a total geek. Give me all the courses, send me on more courses. I want to spread this positive message to the the entire world. And it was a really, really cool time that I got to, I never watched TV. The boys would go to bed at like 7 o'clock and in the evening, and I was like, okay, give me more courses, give me more information. And I spent the first few years and kind of just out of my own personal interest, trying to figure things out and trying to learn. And then it just became well, if I can do it now, then everybody can definitely do it, and I'm going to show them how. So that was kind of how I suppose I developed my confidence in the pre and postnatal space.
Given that you clearly defined your niche and arguably you own that now, you've given it so much time and, as you say, education and many years in this space. I know a lot of people getting into industry, particularly one of the first questions they ask me is, should I have a niche? What would you say to that?
I started in that niche of not even pregnancy, it was postnatal. It was because I was in that time of my life and I felt that I was able to become, I don't like to use the word expert, but the most knowledgeable that I could in that area. Charlotte, one of my clients, her mom is Pauline. And during the pandemic, she came to me and she said, the way you deal with postnatal only. So my mom is 27 years postnatal and she wants somewhere to train. And she was wondering, could she come and train with you? And she's got no weights, but, she really wants to do something during the pandemic. This is all on the world of Zoom. And I was like, well, I mean, why not? Like, of course she can, And at that stage, I had started taking on pregnant people in my classes. Again, I was only doing the one or two classes at the weekend and in the evenings at that stage because I was still working. And so she started, and then it was like, okay, so now I can train people who aren't necessarily in my niche. This is kind of cool. And then people were saying, okay, so my baby's now 12 months. You said that you can take us from 3 to 12 months, but I don't want to leave. I don't want to go somewhere else. Can I stay? I'm like, okay, so I'll just have to create another kind of an area here. And I suppose it organically grew from pre and postnatal to I have plenty of members now who don't have kids, don't intend to have kids. I am still in the female centric um, model, but I have trained men remotely and in one-to-one scenarios plenty of times over the years. But what we have is quite special here, where our females, our members are able to train in, I want to say safe space, but it's a safe feeling, a feeling where they can just be themselves without the feeling of, I can't talk about stuff like this in front of this person, or, and it's just grown like that, I suppose. So, yeah.
And while we're on that, take us through your incredible space and take us through those first couple of maybe weeks or months into, moving away from, teaching a few classes, still getting a full-time salary from a tech job, and then moving across to, a lack of security in terms of income. Right? That's I think the biggest fear for the majority of people that go from a good steady role into self-employment, which, you can choose your own hours, and we all know that it's all the hours, right?
Right.
Usually,
I laugh at that. Yeah.
till you get to a stage where you can, build an amazing team, which is what you're doing now. But yeah, take us through that first, opening a studio, having these rents and rates and overheads, and you had a
Yeah.
client base probably from your classes, but now you're adding in this on top of that. How did you deal with that? And plus being
Again,
a mother at the time.
yeah, again, I suppose I did it all very, very slowly. I'm kind of like, I'll dip my toe in, then I'll dip my foot in, then I like to kind of to feel how I'm doing without kind of doing, all in. Even though it was probably always the plan. I found the pandemic very, very hard. The people who got to learn Italian and make bread and, do all that stuff, I'd love to go back and have a redo, because I was very, very stressed. I had a full-time job. I had a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, and they were taken out of creche. The creche was closed. And I was trying to do my job while parent, while I think my eldest had just started junior infants. He was doing homeschooling, and there was temper tantrums every single day. And my husband was out of the house because he had a job that he needed to be out. And I used to spend every day crying. I was just so upset. I used to be on the phone to my boss on Zoom, and literally just crying. It found it so hard. I felt like I was a shit wife. Sorry, my loud curse.
Of course, absolutely.
A shit wife, a shit mother, and a shit employee. And I remember my boss one day, he was absolutely fantastic. And he said, close your laptop down, take the boys out. It's a lovely day, and go for a walk, And I was trying to do everything and be everything, and I was not doing anything well. And then when we came out of the pandemic, I had an opportunity to go for redundancy. Not to go for it, but it became an opportunity for me, and I finished up in my tech job the end of December 2020. And a week later, we went into a 6-month lockdown, and I had oh my God, what just happened moment. And I spent um, that 6 months of lockdown feeling like maybe I should go back to my job, but maybe I shouldn't, and maybe I should. Now's the opportunity to make bread and learn Italian, which I still didn't do. I was still stressed, and it took me a long time to undo that feeling of needing to be on all the time. I probably still haven't done it, because I am always on, but it gave me an opportunity, a couple of months, to kind of go, okay, what am I going to do here? I went into the world of Zoom, did lots of Zoom calls, Zoom sessions, Zoom fitness, built a 12-week postnatal program on PT distinction. Um, I still laugh about it to this day. My home gym is right next to my kitchen, and Pat would literally come in the door from work, and I would be in the gym on a Zoom class, teaching a class, fitness class after fitness class. The only exercise I did during that time was teaching fitness classes, where it was follow along stuff. I used to say to him, I'm actually going to lose my mind. I've had a really tough day. I have to go teach class. I'll be back. And then I would come on and big smile on my face. And that energy that you need to teach class, especially on Zoom when, you don't have that interaction. It was an experience. And then we came out of the pandemic and I had a chance to sub sublet from a pelvic health physio friend of mine. And I was there for probably 9 months before that unit closed down and the rent went too high. The unit closed down and I was left homeless. That was 3 years ago, sorry, just over 3 years ago. And then I moved to Wilton. So then again, I was subletting in Wilton, in what I can describe as a room, a big enough room, but a room that I turned into a gym. I was subletting there. It was 2 weeks before we were due to close on the Kinsale Road roundabout. So I moved into Wilton, and the lady who I was subletting from Wilton literally called me 2 weeks before I was due to close down. And the room that I had in the Kinsale Road roundabout, I was on my way back to my kickboxing hall. I was going to be teaching back to the circuit classes that I used to teach in the kickboxing hall. And then I had this room that I could build a gym out of. It had a little tiny sink for a kitchenette, a toilet that had a built-in shower, the toilet and the shower were in the same room, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
And I was there.
Very Irish in commercial units.
Yeah, and I was there for 3 years up until 2 weeks ago, and it went really, really well. It was much smaller than I had been used to, but it was mine. It was equipment was there. I invested a lot of money in equipment from Apollo, and we made it work. And we were literally like, at some points we were squashed in there like sardines. Like we had 6. I used to have 6, or I still do 6 in a small group PT session. So 3 racks. So we would have to pair up and have one person on one rack and one person resting while the other would do their squats, etc. And then, but it was working, and like my business was thriving there, and it was going really well. And I'm going to say the end of the year last year, I always had alerts on for Daft, and a unit became available in Ballincollig, where I actually live, right down the road from the boys' school, right down the road from where my house is, and um, 4 times the size, and my own parking, my own sign outside the door, and we moved in mid-March. Kept the 2 running up until 2 weeks ago, just for transition wise. And I'm not going to lie, at one point I thought maybe I can make the 2 of these work. And within 2 weeks of having the 2 of them open at the same time, I went, no, this is not what I want. I want a center of excellence. I want one place where everybody can be. What's that song? You want to go where everybody know? Yeah, that's cheesy, but right. I wanted
Yeah.
one place, and I wanted all my coaches here. So I even felt I suppose we were there, was it 6 weeks? We had both open, and I felt a disconnect. I felt like things were being not run the same in both. And how could they, right? But sometimes I was doing the mornings in Ballincollig and the evenings in Wilton, and some days I was doing a 9:30 in Wilton and a 10:30 in Ballincollig, and it just didn't work for me. So so when we opened Ballincollig, I like poured my heart and soul into making it a warm, welcoming, fun environment for my members, who particularly were in Wilton, to give them space. They walk in, they're like, oh my God, there's so much space. Our hangout area is nearly bigger than the gym that we were in Wilton. So I wanted to give that back to my members, so that my members would see that I built this for them. And it's the rest is history.
And I think that shows as well. It is one of the most uniquely aesthetic gyms I've ever seen. It is beautiful, honestly, and I mean that. The murals and the walls and everything is incredible. And Orla, it doesn't sound like you had a very straightforward path. Not that business, it very rarely is. But having one unit taken and the next one not work. How do you deal with setbacks in business and not go into a shell? Because I think a lot of people tend to do that. We tend to regress when something hits us and everything is going right, and then you just get slapped with this. Whether that's a bad month in business, as in revenue drops, or you
Mm.
get a load of leavers. How do you overcome those days or weeks or months or even years actually during a pandemic and
I
stay
used to
going?
punch, I used to punch people in the face, but then the pandemic took that sport away from me. To be honest, when I was moving from the Kinsale Road roundabout to Wilton, I had I had to have a big talk to myself and go, "Oh, look, I gave it a try. This is great. I did it for whatever a year. It's time for me to go back to my real job now and go back into tech, and maybe I can get a job back." And I was like, okay, look, it is what it is, and I was a member of SAOR at the time, and when I started in SAOR, I think I was with you for about a year before I even got on a call with you. I was like, I just don't have time for this. I'm trying to like survive here, I don't have time for these calls where people ask me what blue sky thinking, and I really didn't. But when I was moving from the Kinsale Road roundabout to Wilton and looking for Wilton, Shane told me, put up a video on Instagram saying, we're looking for a space if anybody has anything. And I think it took me a couple of weeks to go, okay, I'll do it, and I put that video up saying, we're looking for a space. I think I might have had 20 or 30 members at the time. Like, I was small, and that's how Grania in Wilton found me, because of that video. And I went, okay, so this guy actually knows what he's talking about. And he will tell you that I used to be on the phone to him going, I just cannot do this. I can't do this anymore. I don't want to go into a commercial gym with my few clients. I want, like, I'm either going to do it or I'm not going to do it. And maybe, and every single week, I'd say his poor head was wrecked from listening to me, because I was in a very, very negative space. And he helped me through it. Genuinely, he just helped me through that tough time. And he said, it will happen. Trust yourself. You're doing the work. Make sure you're putting it out there. Reach out. And always in the back of his pocket, there was SAOR members who, could maybe kind of part house me, and maybe I was going to have to rejig my business and reset it up. And I don't want this to sound like a sales pitch, but that genuinely is what got me through that time, to the point where now I trust Shane and you guys implicitly. So if I have a worry, I'm just honest, and I get on the phone and I brain fart it all out, and I'm like, just help me, So and it just works. So I have you in my corner, and it makes a massive difference.
Thank you. I know the team appreciates that, and likewise, you're an incredible person to work with. So it makes our jobs a lot easier, that's for sure. And I often say to the rest of the team as well, there's different stages that we wear different hats, right? Sometimes we're coaches, sometimes we're mentors, other times we're consultants. And while they
Therapists.
all kind of, yeah, exactly, yeah, and while they all kind of form into one, they do come with different ways of coaching people. I'm sure you see this as well in your own coaching style. Sometimes we, see an issue and we have to coach people along that journey and kind of guide them there. There's other times where we're just pure consultants. You come to us with an issue and we look at that issue and we strategically plan out what that is. And then we get to a stage where we're kind of all of those, which to me is a mentor, right? Someone who can guide you through those difficult times, but also provide you the kind of strategic processes to get from A to B, right? Um, and out of all the work that we've done with you and Shane has done with you, what would you say is the biggest takeaway from business Orla? Because I'm sure business Orla is slightly different to coach Orla, or maybe you're one of the same person, but you know, how have we helped you improve as a business
Oh,
owner?
have you helped me improve? I'd love to say that my data hub is up to date every single day. And if Max, you're listening to this, I'm working on it, right? Um, the having the data hub and seeing the growth, even if it's just from the members and the monthly generated revenue, seeing that, it's like, I suppose, a little bit of a dopamine hit. I'm like, oh my God, I'm actually seeing progress. I'm actually improving. Whereas before I started tracking that stuff, I couldn't even tell you how many members I had, or what the monthly revenue was, or I suppose it made it feel like more of a business to track that stuff. Um,
Yeah.
I'm
So for
not the
reference,
best.
the data hub tracks sales, levers, leads, revenue, tracks all those hardcore data, churn rate, all those things, which are alien to a lot of business owners because most of us start off as coaches or athletes or something like that, and then we get into business, right?
Yeah.
So that element is, it's often scary and it's often just, oh, I really don't want to want to do those things,
And
but
I still don't use
yeah,
it to the maximum. Like I'm probably using it about 20% of the time instead of 100. But when I start using it, I'm like, oh my gosh, look at that! I've had, three levers and three joiners. And when I do see that trend, it makes it easier to stick with it. But then I miss a week, and then 3 months disappear, and I'm like, what? Oh, what's going on? But
mhm.
it is. I suppose the business growth potential there is huge. There was another time, I think, when I felt like I needed to take on a coach, and Shane helped me figure out financially if it was manageable, rather than me saying I just need a coach. We actually looked at the figures to see if I can actually afford it, which was kind of cool to see as well, I suppose.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, take us through that. Like, how did you start building a team? Like, how does that come about from you just doing all the things to now having a team of incredible coaches around you?
I was very lucky at the start. I used to coach this incredible lady. Neve Savage was her name, or is her name, and she was a PT client of mine. After the pandemic, she used to come to postnatal classes on Saturdays with me back in the day when I was in the kickboxing hall. And then after the pandemic, she came to me for one-to-ones. I used to do PTs out of my house. I had a small gym in the house, and she was just used to take to strength training like a duck to water, and eventually she kind of showed an interest in doing a PT course. She did a PT course. I helped her through that process, I guess, but she didn't really need my help because she's just a Model A student. And as soon as she finished her course, then I asked her would she be interested in taking a few hours for me. Now, it was when we were in the Kinsale Road roundabout, then into Wilton, and so she was an easy start for me. She was on contract rather than employee. Um, so, it was a few hours, a few evenings a week, and it was really, really helpful. And it kind of helped me learn, I suppose, how to delegate. I probably didn't do it very well. If you want to interview her and her experience of it, maybe she'd tell you a different story. But it really helped me kind of see, okay, this is possible. And then I didn't hire my first actual employee until probably about maybe a year and a half ago, maybe, um, and part time. And again, that's something that Sarah have helped me a lot with, just about, trying to make sure that the onboarding process for coaches is consistent. And it's still something I'm working on. I'm getting better at it, but trying to make sure that my coaches have a good experience, that they're not just thrown into the deep end, that they do a number of weeks of shadowing. Then they do, if we flip it where they're coaching and I'm shadowing them, and then we kind of ease into it. And some people, some of the coaches that I have start their own coaching quicker than others, but I want to make sure that they have the space to only do it when they're ready, or only take over a class when they're ready. So I now have four part-time coaches.
Amazing. Would you say you're a good leader?
No, I'm going to say no. I have a lot to learn. I'm never, I suppose, with the girls that I currently have. I like to. I don't want to be a dictator. I prefer to co-work with them. So I take their opinions quite seriously. If they have a question or a concern about the way we're programming, we take that on board. Like, we had a really productive meeting yesterday, where we just sat down and we are like, okay, what's working, what's not working in terms of our small group PT program? How can we make it different? What are we going to do? And, I took on board what the girls were saying, so that their involvement is important, instead of it being a dictatorship where, no, this is the way we're doing it, this is the way we've always done it. Their opinion matters, because they're the ones that have come straight out of the PT course. So, they're the ones that are more current in terms of the way things are being done, versus me. So, um, a collective effort or a team effort is probably my preferred way. I struggle probably what do I struggle with? I tend to say yes a lot. I find it hard to say no. I find myself in situations sometimes where I'm working all the hours still, and yet I still have a team. a team of people to help. So I'm trying to make sure that my needs are met and that it's not a one-way system. But so far so good with the team that I currently have.
Amazing. And I know the team speaks very highly of you. So I would say you're a good leader, but like I said, you're just always learning. I think,
Yeah,
and that's
exactly. Yeah,
an incredible mindset to have in business. I think the day you turn around and say, I got this, I know it, I'm good now. I think that's the day your business may start to decline, you know?
100%. Yeah.
Um, and so just before we came on, you made me aware that in 2 weeks' time, you're going to be turning 50. So that's incredible milestone. And with that, you've been in this industry for quite some time now, be it as an athlete or be it as a business owner. How do you view the fitness industry? Do you think it's let women down? Because you've probably seen all the trends and all the skinny teas and the skinny detoxes, and now with the emergence of peptides and skinny jabs and all these things. Yeah, would you say the industry is letting women down?
I suppose going back to when I was 27, I just wanted to be fit. I wanted to train. I wanted to be good at my sport. I wanted to just be in a gym. And I used to train in a gym in Donnybrook, where in the back room was weights room, and was mainly men, but there was a bunch of us. There was 5 of us that used to train there. And I don't know if you've ever heard the 300. There was a workout years ago, the 300, where you had to do 300 reps. It was kind of like pre-CrossFit. And we
Hmm.
were in there lifting weights, and we were probably like, we weren't the only ones, but we definitely felt that we were ahead of the curve in terms of people. We weren't just trying to lose weight. We wanted to actually be strong. We wanted to be fit. And I suppose with the trying to be a smaller version of yourself, we're not on this planet to be smaller. When you think of strength training, for longevity of life, my mom was 63 when she died. Like, I'm turning 50 in 2 weeks, and I want to be strong at 80, just like I am now. I want to defy the odds of your muscle mass declines as you age. Well, give me a challenge and I'll prove you wrong. But I think the industry is kind of starting to flip in terms of strength training, but maybe it's an echo chamber that I'm in, because it is coming back a little bit more again. Smaller is better, and always trying to be in a smaller size, etc. Um, but it's about trying to, I suppose, find your people. And like, there's no right or wrong. You want people to be fit and healthy, but I feel like I'm not really answering that question properly.
No, you are absolutely. I think you're staying true to yourself, and that's you're echoing what this industry is all about. And I think it's a huge element that people forget about. This is the health and fitness industry, right?
Yeah, I
We're
suppose
here to
one of
be
the
healthier
things
and fitter.
Yeah, one of the things I people always say, "Oh, you're a women's only gym," and I actually call them out on that, because I don't consider ourselves a women's only gym. I consider ourselves female-centric. The fundamentals of strength training for men and women is the exact same. You progressive overload, you put in the work, you put in the work, you get the results, right? So whatever the results are, for me, strength is always fundamentally the highest, most important. I don't care what you weigh. I don't care. I don't do weigh-ins. I don't have a weighing scales in here. I want you to feel stronger and more capable, have more capacity in your day to deal with the life the life strains or struggles, right? Um, like I said, so the fundamentals are the same, but the external factors are different. The mental load for women, the mental load for mothers, even members of mine who don't have young kids or don't have kids, but they're dealing with their mothers, that they're becoming their mothers' carers. Like, all of that impacts women slightly more than men. And I'm going to say, yeah, not all the time, right? But the mental load is there. And um, we've got members who are trying to do their jobs, but also dealing with a child who might have a physical need at home, like a neurodivergence or autism or wheelchair bound or what have you. And they're in that carer mode. So female-centric for me is to help women through those stages of life, from trying to conceive, uh, doing or going through pre and postnatal, dealing with aging, menopause, losing estrogen, progesterone, bone and muscle mass that naturally decline. And we want to be able to talk about that in here in a way that is, oh my God, if you don't do your strength training, you're going to be, weak as water in 6 years' time. We don't talk like that. It's all about what can we do now to help us as women thrive as we age, because we're going to need our energy, we're going to need our strength, and we're going to need to be able to show up for the people in our lives that need us to be strong and fit and healthy. So that's our female-centric model, is there to discuss, okay, if there's hormonal stuff going on, if there's a mental load going on, what if there's a person who has been dealing with, concerns at home with a child who has additional needs, and they just want to come in here and they want to have a bit of crack and lift a few weights. We don't push them to always lift heavier. We push them to come in and go, okay, what's your capacity today? What's your energy like today? What are you feeling like today? So if we know they can lift, let's say deadlift 100 kg, but they come in and they have the weight of the world on their shoulders and they just feel like lifting 30 or 40, then we facilitate that and we allow for that without judgment. Because your energy and capacity changes on a regular basis, on a daily basis, because of those external factors. Does that make
Sure.
sense?
Yeah, hourly sometimes I think my energy tends to change and bounce around the
And
place.
yeah, exactly. Like it happens for men too. And like, I'm not saying we are uniquely different, but well, we are uniquely different. We all have the same struggles, mentally, fatigue and all that, but probably for different reasons, I'm going to say.
Yeah. Yeah. And how the systems are affected. How men
Yeah.
have I don't know, maybe women are more resilient, I would say, or maybe just better at dealing with it. Men, we tend to go on about it, but still kind of just get on
No,
through
we
it
go on about it too.
sometimes.
We do.
Sometimes. For sure. And look, given your background in tech and your extensive deep diving on AI now, where do you see the future of fitness going? Is there still going to be coaches? Are we all going to be coached by robots and screens? Is there still going to be a space for studios and fitness going forward?
I think the human element is always going to be needed. Like I have a gym, my own gym, my beautiful space, and I have a gym at home. Again, my own gym. It's convenient. I can get up in the morning and train for the kids. Um, but I still pay a membership and go to another gym. I do weightlifting. The way I exercise is by pushing myself through sports. So when I retired from kickboxing, I went into weightlifting. And now I compete in weightlifting in the masters team. But it's when I train on my own, and I do train on my own because I have to, because of my business and because of the kids. I absolutely hate it. I struggle to get my percentages. I struggle to get my reps. I send cranky messages to my coaches saying today sucks, right? But then I go. So last night I rarely train on a Wednesday evening because I'm never available. But I made it work last night mainly because I missed my lunchtime session, right? And I came out of the place absolutely buzzing. I nailed my lifts. I nailed my squats. I came out of the place feeling like unstoppable. The night before, I was like, "Oh, I should quit the sport. Jesus, why am I here?" I'm like barely do because I trained on my own. So I definitely think there's a need for humans. I mean, if we all nobody's going to go back to the pandemic and go on to Zoomland. Like I still have PTSD from that. Like,
Yeah,
um,
for sure.
but I think AI and I did actually a really good workshop a couple of weeks ago with a Cork crowd called Lemon 7. And while everybody knows about ChatGPT, they went through some other AI systems, Claude in particular, and Lovable. And it's like ignited like a switch in my brain about how can I make the parts of my job that I find challenging to do and that I struggle with time, how can I make that more efficient so that I can spend more time being the coach I want to be? And I think that's where it's going to be amazing. And if people adopt AI in a way, like with Claude, there's this feature called co-work that helps summarize your day. At the moment, it goes into my email and it just says, okay, you've got 3 urgent emails that you still didn't respond to. You've got 2 calendar invites, make this happen. So, and then I'm like, okay, so thanks for telling me what to. It's like your own assistant, right? And
Hmm.
Lovable is just helping me build all the stuff. Like, I mean, I built a timer for we have a smart board on our screen here instead of a whiteboard, and I built, so we're using Canva for the programs and we're using a timer for the classes, but it's getting a little bit complicated. So I've built a timer that I can use a template to add my program in, and then I can select the timer on the side, and it's all built into one screen. And I did it for the weightlifting club as well, just because I'm like, well, if I can do it, I can do it for them too, and it's effortless. And my only problem at the moment is I keep running out of credits because I keep having more ideas, and you run out of credits if you. So I'm trying to learn how to use even that system efficiently. So I go to Claude and I say, build me a script that I can use in Lovable, so that I don't run out of Lovable credits. And I'm like, oh my God, this is fantastic. So
I agree.
yeah,
I think
it's
that's the
really
exciting
lifting.
side of AI, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's going to give us
it's
that
not to
time back, I
repeat.
think, to do what we love, be coaches.
Exactly. It's not to replace yourself. It's actually to, oh my God, I've been struggling for months to get this project going, and now here I have like a, a, a a project plan that I can now
Mhm.
implement because it's helped me organize my thoughts. And rather than getting it to do all the work, I'm like, okay, it's helping me organize my thoughts a bit better. And um, yeah, it's fun, and it's attacking that tech brain. I did a cloud computing degree while I was in EMC, so um it's helping me have some of that tech uh, um, idea stuff floating around still, rather than forgetting it all. So
I
yeah,
think that's my final question, Orla. I think it's a great one to land on with AI coming into play. But also with you being a mom, with you being a business owner, does balance actually exist?
no, no, it doesn't. People are like, oh my God, they see me like, how are you doing it all? How are you doing it? I'm not, because there's always something that gives. Right now, I suppose I've got a very supportive husband. He's helping get the kids to school. I always collect the kids from school, but since we've opened the gym in March, my plan was always to walk the kids to school and end up and just keep walking and end up in work. But now I have to be in work before the kids are in school, so the balance isn't there. We The house is in complete discombobulation, like 100% of the time. But we try and make it work, and the boys are happy. The boys do about 50 million different sports, and that in itself is a full-time job, getting them from A to B. We're always missing, their their sports are clashing a lot. So we have to kind of go, okay, which one do you want to do today? Because you've got 3 matches now on at the same time. We've 2 boys, one person is working, and I can't be in 3 places at once. So Pat does a lot of the weekend or the morning week stuff, and bring them to school, and then we try and divvy up the evenings. But no, balance does not exist. I'd love to be able to say I close my laptop on a Friday and I don't open it again on a Monday. I did that last weekend because my son had his communion, and on Monday I felt like I was 3 months behind. Um, so yeah, I'm always striving for balance. I haven't nailed it yet. If anyone has any tips, please send them my way.
Do you think you'll get there? Do you think there will be a stage
um,
in your life when you'll get there?
I'd like to think so. Like I definitely need more downtime. We do like we do a yearly retreat with one of my members. It's a 2 hour rest and restore type yoga event every April. And I noticed this April, when, the Savasana, when you're supposed to lie down and do nothing. I'm not a yoga person, but um, when I'm lying down, I'm like, I have to do this. And oh my God, when is this? And how many times? And how many minutes left? And okay, I still have this stuff to do. Like my brain does not shut off. But at this one in April, I practically fell asleep. I didn't quite fall asleep, but I definitely needed the downtime. But it was very relaxing. And when I came out of it, I thought, okay, I need more of this. And I definitely need to be able to find some strategies to properly shut off. Um, so that I can have the energy when I need it. Still a work in
Well,
progress.
of course. Orla, I wish you all the very best in finding that balance. If you do figure that out, please let me know. I'm still trying to figure that one out myself. And honestly, thank you for having this conversation today. I really enjoyed it. And of course, all the links to your incredible business will be below if people want to find you. And yeah, thank you. Any final words for our listeners before we sign off?
Um, just keep strength training. Don't forget to do your weights and enjoy the process.